Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer, and welcome to the breaking news. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, link in the description below. Today, breaking news is unfolded as the political opponent of Vladimir Putin, now in prison for several years, Alexei Navalny, has been declared dead inside of a Russian federal penitentiary system just a few hours ago. This is severely breaking news. The fact that Alexei Navalny is dead is something that was, of course, well predicted here in the West, and something that even came as a shock according to the Russian federal penitentiary system. According to the information that we have at the moment, Alexei Navalny suddenly fell ill just around 6 hours ago, dropped to the floor unconscious, and by the time ambulance services arrived to the Penal Colony, he was announced dead on the spot. Dead on arrival, pretty much. This is something that, once again, it's a little odd. We do know that for a while now, Alexei Navalny has been an anti-corruption leader within Russia, talking about how the main party, United Russia, which is the party that Vladimir Putin is the head of, is a corrupt gang of crooks and thieves, and said that Vladimir Putin would most likely be attempting to try and have him assassinated just for making these claims and statements like he had been. Over time, that started to become true as a Novichok poisoning of Alexei Navalny occurred several years ago, and he was immediately rushed to medical services inside of Germany. After he was released, he blamed Vladimir Putin for his poisoning and said that he was responsible. Later investigations did uncover that Federal Security Service agents of the Russian Federation were possibly involved in this altercation and the poisoning of Alexei Navalny years ago. The fact that he's currently had a sudden collapse while being inside of a penal colony in the Arctic Circle most likely indicates that this was once again a poisoning attack on Navalny by the Russian government, and this one ended up proving to be successful, with Navalny not being able to escape anywhere to try and make it away from the poisoning. This is something that I have to say again is quite shocking, and something that we still don't really have a lot of information on, because of course the Russian Federation is being very secretive about the information revolving around the death of Alexei Navalny. But we were able to get ourselves an official bit of news right here from Nexta declaring that Alexei Navalny is in fact dead. Another thing that adds to the series to the mystery more so of this sudden death and makes it more so look like foul play is the fact that Alexei Navalny had talked to his attorney just 2 days ago. He had also talked to his family just a few days ago, and everyone said that he was in perfectly good health, and as a matter of fact, he was joking around and laughing with them and showing that he was perfectly fine. Completely contradictory to what happened today, where he just immediately collapsed on the spot and promptly died, which would most likely indicate that there was a poisoning that was involved. Immediately around the world and also inside the Russian Federation, many people who were supporters of Alexei Navalny's campaign to root out corruption and wrongdoers within the Russian Federation are all stepping forward to pay homage or to show their outrage at his instant and immediate death. Inside the city of Moscow, the prosecutor's office is already warning people to not get involved in a protest for Alexei Navalny in the center of Moscow. This is according to the RIA, a news agency within Russia, but nevertheless showing that the Russian government is immediately already putting down the hammer on any kind of pro-Navalny protest, and are mostly going to try and paint them in an anti-Russian, pro-Ukrainian, or pro-Western light to justify the severe reprisals and repercussions that the Russians will levy against the pro-Navalny supporters to make sure that they do not come out in large numbers or pose any kind of a threat to the Russian government. At the exact same time, even in more far-flung regions of Western Russia, we saw that in the city of Kazan, apparently the oblast's governor has already called for police forces to stand around the monument to the victims of political repression and to ensure that further demonstrations cannot be made at this monument, such as the laying of flowers or portraits of Alexei Navalny in his honor. Pretty ironic that the monument is about people who died from political repression, and currently at the moment the Russian government is currently conducting repression against the people who would use the monument to pay homage to Alexei Navalny. A pretty ironic act in its own right, but we can see the Russian police mobbing this monument and making sure that nobody goes up and lays flowers onto the monument. In another clip, we also saw that outside of the Russian Federation, there's already a massive amount of backlash happening in near regions such as Georgia, where we can see that a large amount of Russian expatriates, whatever you may call them, are rallying over the death of Navalny within Georgia and showing their massive displeasure. Of course, these people are very displeased with the Russian government currently having been voluntarily exiled for the most part from Russia due to the ongoing war in Ukraine. Many of these people are showing that they are not necessarily that big of a fan of what Vladimir Putin's government is, what they have done, and what has happened to Alexei Navalny. And we can see here this massive crowd holding up their phones with their lights on, almost like a candlelight vigil. But still, at the same time, the story is largely the same around the world. The world is truly reeling about the death of Putin's believed really only real political opponent at the moment, Alexei Navalny. And it does seem somewhat odd that over the past year, both of the major opponents to Putin's reign in Russia have both ended up dying under very mysterious circumstances. Of course, last year, it was Yevgeny Prigozhin's private jet being shot down several dozen miles north of Moscow near the small town of Kolomno that ended up raising some alarm bells that was most likely a deliberate attack by the Russian ground-air defense forces, shooting down his private jet and making sure that Prigozhin would never stand to be a real political threat to Vladimir Putin, especially after the summer coup of 2023. We also saw that this year, a very similar thing happened with the sudden and rapid death, and unsuspected, totally unsuspected by the Russian government, death of Alexei Navalny. And it is once again showing that the Russian government truly is run by a band of crooks. They really do kill anyone who may pose a threat to their unquestionable power within the area, within the nation of Russia. And it's something that we will be trying to get more news and information on as time goes by. Of course, it's very sad to think that good people like Alexei Navalny, who truly were trying their best to expose the corruption within the Russian Federation and try and make Russia a better place, have ended up dying to the hands of these vicious crooks that are in power again. It's a never-ending story within the Russian Federation that these sorts of things just continue to happen, and probably with no real end in sight. But nevertheless, hopefully, things will change for the better as time keeps going, and we'll be able to see that maybe another person like Alexei Navalny will be able to step forward in Russia and take the reins, although doing that is pretty much a death sentence inside of Russia. But with that, that's really all of the major breaking news that we have today. I thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure making sure to run this news for y'all. If y'all did enjoy, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can also support us on Patreon. The link is in the description below. And also check out our nightly live streams. We won't run live streams on the Ukraine war and also some internal Russian news every single night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, covering the past 24 hours of the war in Ukraine and covering the past 24 hours of any of the ongoing developments within the Russian Federation. Thank you all so much once again, and I will see you all in the next one. Long live the Lee Spring Army.